It's Steve Denny here on Virgin Radio. I have the person, you couldn't get a better guest to talk about showbiz, and she's sat here. Hello, Ellie Henman.
Hello, how are you?
Really good, thank you. You do realise you have the dream job to be working not only at The Sun, national newspaper, but also you're the editor. I mean, is it just... Tell me what the job's like.
Well, I think being Bazaar editor probably is the coolest job in the world, obviously. Piers Morgan, Victoria Newton, who's our current editor, she used to do the job. And I am really lucky. I get to chat to very famous people for a living and just be nosy. That's probably the best part of my job. I'm paid to be nosy.
And
it's amazing.
You've been at The Sun for something, was it 6 years?
Yeah,
so
6 years.
you've kind of worked your way up. And I know, and you congratulations, breaking the Philip and Holly story.
Thank you so much.
Wow.
Yeah, I feel like...
That is a story, isn't it?
It was a big story. I think I dominated last year. And yeah, for me, that was really proud to sort of be part of... The Sun did an amazing job on that story, I think. And we worked so well. And obviously then Clemmy got the amazing chat with Phil.
Yeah.
Where he obviously talked about everything. So I think it's what The Sun does best. We break big exclusive stories and then we always nail the follow-up chat.
And I've got to ask you this, because I know loads of people will be thinking this. Is she just at showbiz parties? Is it just every night? Free champagne, peanuts... and a big smiles.
I'm afraid it actually is.
It is.
I hate to tell the truth. No, genuinely, it is a lot of parties, and I feel particularly jaded today. I try not to drink too much, but sometimes when the champagne flows, and you just can't help yourself. Mini burgers. So, this job will just make me grossly overweight because all I'm doing is drinking and eating.
I feel extremely lucky that you're here. Not only that you're here, but you've got some great stories. I know we're going to talk about Amy Winehouse in a bit. We'll get onto the Gaza story, which is amazing. But Strictly... Tell me about this, at Buckingham Palace.
Yeah, so I'm a huge Strictly superfan. So back in December, The Sun told you how the Palace and Strictly were in talks to kind of amalgamate, because it's going to be Strictly's 20th anniversary this year.
Wow.
And Camilla is an absolutely massive fan of the show. She
No
loves
way.
it. Yeah, she loves Strictly. She's Strictly obsessed. And then this morning, Shirley Ballas all but kind of confirmed it and was like, yeah, I know what's going on. There are lots of talk. So what we think's going to happen is there'll be an amazing pre-recorded dance in Buckingham Palace, which will air on the show later this year.
Right.
I just think it's so exciting. For me, everything's been so heavy with the royals recently, obviously poor Kate and obviously the King. It's really difficult. So actually, for Strictly to go and, put some sparkle on Buckingham Palace and really lift their spirits, I think it's genius.
So you reckon it's going to be like a one-off?
I could imagine, absolutely. They would just do a pre-record in one of the staterooms and it would just be genius.
By the time we get to the end of this year, imagine, watching the King's speech after everything the royal family have been through. It's such a big year, isn't it? With so many earth-shattering events so far. And we're only April.
That's what I sometimes find shocking. I sit and I'm like, where on earth is this year going? Because so much has happened in 4 months, in the world of news, royals, showbiz. It's been a wild year so far. I don't think I can cope with whatever happens next. I want it to slow down.
Ellie, I must talk to you about reality TV, because I always get the latest in the Bazaar column. Now, little bit of a problem with Celebrity Big Brother. I just think it needs more celebrities. I felt, half of my time in the last season looking at Wikipedia and stuff. But tell me about who's rumoured. Who's rumoured? Or is it a rumour? Is it going to happen?
Oh, see, Gaza, he for me would be a dream signing. So Rod reported it today. That Gaza is in talks to go in to do the second series, because I see what you mean about the first. It was a varied mix, but obviously they had Sharon Osbourne and Louis Walsh, which absolutely blew the budget, and they were absolutely amazing. So I feel like second time round, if ITV can get the casting right again, it could be even bigger. So Gaza, and we're not allowed to name them, but a major pop star. Now
oh, come on.
No, so we're genuinely not now. See, I saw when Rod wrote this. Now I know who that major pop star is, and they are big.
Is there a clue? Is there anything you can say?
No, honestly, because I'd
female,
actually
American.
be murdered. British.
Okay.
And so when I found out, I was so shocked.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
See, that's what it needs. Because I remember, back in the day with John McCririck and the brilliant Jackie Stallone. Yeah, Jackie. And Michael Barrymore. And they were big names. Like, you felt like the nation stopped to watch the show, and you kind of need that, don't you think?
Hugely. And I think what ITV maybe need to do a bit better this year is, there's a lot of leakers. We got a lot of names. You've read all about it in The Sun. Obviously, we ran, excuse my French, we ran nearly all of the names.
Yeah.
But I really miss, when they come out of the car and it's genuinely shocking.
Yeah, and you're like, wow.
That's almost
the best bit.
So it would drive me mad if we weren't allowed to leak the names and we didn't get them. But also, I kind of, as a fan, miss that excitement of them, you know, blanket overhead, in the car, in the hotel, and nobody knowing who they are. Yeah. And that sort of shock factor.
That's what we need. When's it going to be back on? Is it, or do you have to wait a year, do you think?
So it'll be next year.
Next year, okay. Lots to talk about then. Listen, we need to speak. Stay right here. I've booked my tickets tomorrow. I'm going to see the Amy Winehouse biopic. I mean, everyone is talking. If there's one movie to watch, it's this movie. We'll chat about it, okay, in a moment. Ellie Henman's with me from the Sun's Bizarre column, and that was a proper gossip, wasn't it?
I love gossip.
We can't mention anything about what we just said in the last 3 minutes, but what we can talk about is the movie that everyone's going to see this weekend. I'm going 4 p.m. tomorrow. Got to see this. So it's the Amy Winehouse biopic.
You're in for a real treat. It's really good. I know it has had mixed reviews, but I genuinely think it's brilliant. It tells the story of her life in a really kind way. It's almost like a Disney version of her life.
Right.
I think it's the best way. It's not the grit you'd imagine. Like, we obviously know Amy had really bad substance addiction issues. That's explained in it, but it's not pushed in your face. It's done really sensitively. It's done really well. The one thing I was a bit shocked by was how Blake Fielder Civil is treated. It's very sensitive. Very, very sensitive.
Yeah, because I heard that he's made out as some kind of... It's interesting you said Disney. Somebody said yesterday they've made him out to be some kind of Disney prince, which jarred with a few people who reviewed it.
He came across to be, they said, something a bit of a lost soul. And they don't shy away from what happened and that actually he is the villain of the piece, but they were very, very kind to him. I know that Jack O'Connell met with him before he took on the role and wanted to speak to him, and he said obviously Blake wasn't thrilled about it, but he understood his part to play. And I think Jack said, I wanted to treat him sympathetically because that's the measure of the man I got. Mm-hmm. So it's really interesting. I think you have to make up your own mind about what you think about that. But Marissa Abella, she can sing. I know people were worried that she wouldn't get it because Amy's voice was so distinctive.
Yes, it sounds uncanny though.
She's done really well. It's genuinely fantastic. And I think if you're a fan of her music and you're a fan of her as an artist and you want to get to know her a bit more, I think the film really does her justice.
Yeah, I think there's so many people listening who loved Amy and who really, really wanted it to work. They really, really wanted to see her, overcome the demons and stuff. And when I went to see the Amy documentary, it was just heartbreaking because you know what's going to happen. But there's so much at the beginning. It starts with such a talented little girl who had her life ahead of her, and you just like bit by bit it ebbs away and stuff. So you're saying this is more of a, dare I say, kind of feel-good vibe. Definitely. When you watch the biopic.
I think so. It's just done with a bit of sparkle to it. It's not the grit. The grit is there, but it's not dark. It's done in a very bright way. And I think, obviously, our family had nothing to do with the film. They had no say. I know that they visited the set a few times. And from what I've heard, it was well received by them. Because I think this is their child. It's so difficult what happened to Amy. So I think it's a real celebration of her career, a celebration of everything she achieved. And it doesn't shy away from the hard times, but it adds some sparkle to it.
Out of all, I must ask you this, Ellie, because you've probably seen all of these films, all these biopics, since Bohemian Rhapsody, we've had Rocket Man and Whitney Houston and recently Bob Marley, I love the One Love thing. How does this fare in comparison? Is that an unfair question with the other biopics? Is this a good biopic?
I think it is a good biopic, and I think it tells the story of her life in a gentle, kind and very revealing way. There are things that people might not know when they watch the film, and I won't ruin it, but you'll see things maybe you didn't know before. But in terms of, it does compare because it's great music. I mean, Bo Rap's my favourite.
Oh, isn't it amazing?
Favourite ever film. I've watched that film so many times. I think it's brilliant. It's very much like that. It's just a celebration of music, and it shows her life to be what it is. It genuinely is excellent. You're in for a treat.
One final question then. I've got to ask you, a mark out of 10?
9.
9? Oh,
genuinely.
That's strong, okay.
It's a really, really good film.
Do you know, I'm really looking forward to seeing it now. Like 4 p.m. tomorrow cannot come around quick enough. Ellie, great to meet you. Thank you for coming on. We can read your lovely page, your wonderful column every single day, isn't it, in The Sun?
It is every
The Bizarre
single day.
column. Ellie Henman, thank you so much. Come and see us soon at Virgin Radio, okay? Great to see you.